Hey all, Armed Turret here, back with another cooked devlog. This week I made a significant amount of improvements to the seabed generation algorithm, and I'm excited to show you what I've done. The first major change I worked on was related to the enemy spawning system. Prior to last week, the level generation algorithm made a series of spawn points along the edge of the map. This was mainly to service a scrapped mechanic, where you could use flares to prevent serpents from spawning in. However, this new design I'm planning for enemies doesn't really mesh well with this. Instead, I wanted enemies to spawn just out of view of the players. To do this, I tweaked the level generation algorithm to place spawn points throughout the entire level, rather than just around the edge. Additionally, whenever an enemy attempts to spawn in, it will try to pick a spawn point that is just out of view of the players. Now, nowhere on the map is truly safe. The next change, you've probably already noticed just by looking at the footage. The seabed is a lot less empty now. To accomplish this, I've divided the seabed generation algorithm into two halves. First, it attempts to place set pieces, i.e. key locations where scan points and dig spots are. After, it tries to place details throughout all the remaining empty spots until everything is fully saturated. Each possible spot that a seabed could have gone, it will instead pick a detail to go there, and pick from a random list that I've already made. Currently, I've only made a few test details, so there isn't much variety, but this will improve later on. Besides, the small changes I've already made give players way more to look at than just sand. After tweaking the level generation algorithm, I worked on fixing another issue I picked up during playtesting. There's no way to find your way in the dark. Whichever player has the scanner has some way to find where they're supposed to go. But if you're alone and you get lost in the dark, say if a certain enemy grabbed you, you're out of luck. To remedy this, I've added beacons. These little suckers contain 6 stationary beacons the player can place throughout the ocean. Compared to flares, beacons have less illumination range and no effect on eels, but they last forever and can be seen from very far away. Careful players can leave themselves an entire breadcrumb trail with just enough spacing that you could find your way back to the drop cage in the dark. Actually implementing these guys took quite the rewrite of my item netcode. Due to some item data shenanigans, the only information I could store was what type an item was. This is quite problematic if you want to have things like, say, how many beacons are in a box. Essentially, after rewriting my code, I now have a list of properties I can attach to these objects that get saved across the network, so both players will know the exact amount of beacons remaining. And this can be expanded if I want to store other data for other items. Beyond these major changes, I made a couple minor fixes. Namely, I made adding items to the drop cage way less of a pain. I just make a spawn point, set an item ID, and bam, we're done. There's probably a couple other changes, but I kinda forgot. For the next devlog, I'm planning on expanding the catalog of creatures at the bottom of the ocean. So, good news for you, bad news for my playtesters. But until then, may the seas be fair. Goodbye.